This is a conspiracy that the YouTube indie animated series Murder Drones takes place in the same universe as the Netflix original cartoon She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. What evidence could I have for this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Join me as I tell you the stupidest theory ever that I basically created as a joke for this video. What do these two very different shows have in common? Well, as far as we can tell, all humans as we know them are gone, with the rare exception of Adora from She-Ra. Sure, She-Ra has people, but almost all of them are native to Etheria, where the majority of the series takes place. I'm specifically talking about descendants of people who came from Earth. We also know these people were mining exoplanets before they were wiped out. In Murder Drones, it's most likely copper, considering the name of the planet Murder Drones takes place on is named Copper 9, and as for She-Ra, it was magic, which was stored in the heart of Etheria. Both of these mining expeditions were caused by some sort of being who, in one way or another, could be considered a god. In Murder Drones, it was Sin causing the core of Copper 9 to implode. In She-Ra, while Mara stopped the heart of Etheria from destroying entire worlds, the heart was likely built in the first place to defeat Horde Prime. As for the god part, Sin is probably closer to this, considering the sheer amount of power of the Absolute Solver. Horde Prime definitely has some sort of god complex, and has similarly destroyed worlds. Sin and Horde Prime are actually very similar when you take a second look at it. Am I saying they're the same person? No, this isn't that crazy of a theory, but Horde Prime definitely could have been inspired by Sin's slaughter of the cosmos. So why am I saying Murder Drones takes place before She-Ra? Well, we know that Murder Drones takes place in the 1370s, and She-Ra doesn't have any specific year. The farthest date we get from the time She-Ra takes place is in the season 2 finale, Reunion, where one of Bo's dads says that a tracker pad they found dated back over like 2,000 years. Even if we assumed that the tracker pad was made even before the show was, like back in the early 2000s, that's still a millennium until Murder Drones takes place. So what actual evidence do I have for these two shows existing in the same universe? Well, it all comes down to everyone's favorite She-Ra character, Trunkadora. Specifically, the piece of First One's tech that turns Adora weird. When we take a closer look on how this artifact actually looks, it does have a bit of a resemblance to the logo of the Absolute Solver. But what does this piece of First One's tech actually do? It infects other pieces of technology around it, particularly robots, and turns them into murdering machines. What does this remind me of? How did a piece of the Absolute Solver program survive so long? Well, we know from Murder Drones Episode 6 that humans had taken the Absolute Solver program to exoplanets safe from Sin's wrath to try to study it, so perhaps Etheria was one of these planets? The events of Murder Drones could also explain the few details we get about First Ones and why they're so different from humans today. After Sin somehow defeated in a hypothetical uh, episode 8 or even season 2 or 3 of Murder Drones, the human numbers were likely few and far between, which meant less people left to teach uh, the next generation how to read English. So later generations would have to use other ways of reading while still speaking Earth languages, because that was easier to learn than reading. At least I think so. And because these reborn humans are already spread amongst the stars, why not use the arrangement of stars as a substitute for a written down language? Plus, after murder drones, humans would be inclined to be less reliant on robots, or at least physical robots. Don't want that whole fiasco to happen again. While robots can be seen all over Etheria, left by the first ones, the programs that are in charge are more often than not holograms like Light Hope, as they are harder to improperly dispose of and cause another absolute solver situation. And those few robots who still haven't given up their murderous tendencies are taken away to disposal sites like Beast Island, where the lack of usable resources and are will lead to them eventually being killed by the weird signal at the center of the island. The lack of magic in murder drones might be because it doesn't exist yet, or at least not in the way we see it in She-Ra. Quickly touching on the Owl House, uh, stay with me on this. The magic that common life on the Boiling Isles uses is the remains of Titan's magic, who is now, well, dead. This magic is also weaker than Titan magic, um, as it can't be used to fend off beings like the Collector. What if the Absolute Solver is destroyed in Murder Drones? It ends up decaying across the universe into the magic we see in She-Ra. Weird conclusion to come to, but this entire theory was made for the lulz anyway. The only thing I can't think of a reason for is why the robots infected by the Absolute Solver First One's tech are not using the powers of the Absolute Solver. Perhaps that piece of the program was deteriorated by the time Entrapta found it, but whatever. It's been a while since I've uploaded, so I hope you guys didn't mind that. But I'll let you go now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will like and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.